It's Friday night, which means it's time for another episode of the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Casey. Last time we watched our 11th episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We also put out our weekly Twitter poll asking, during the dry season, should a tarp be used for a blanket or protection from rain? 61% of you guys went with a protection from rain, which is stupid. It's the dry season. It's not gonna rain, guys.
Actually, we found it. Remember last week when we were like, we haven't really disagreed on anything in so long. And here we go, you know? I am firmly in the protection from the rain camp. This is one of the pettiest Twitter polls we've ever had. Like, this just will... I hope this situation doesn't apply to anyone listening to it. It's so oddly specific and, like, survivalist. But... I'm all about that protection from the rain. You just never know.
All right, well, AC Wilder replied with, it's the dry season. Why would it rain? So, thank you, AC, for being on my side in my time of need. Look,
and,
I'm just saying...
let me check the mentions. Oh, thank you to absolutely nobody for helping out on my side, too. So, keep that up.
Good stuff, good stuff. I mean, yeah, no, this is not something that really matters, but I just feel like if it's cold... I'm using that thing as a blanket. Plus, you have to put all the work in to put it up, you know? And, like, why even bother, you know? Anyways.
All right. Well, this week, we are giving Doug another chance. It has been a long time. This is, I think, full disclosure, one of the Nicktoons. I think it's not our least favorite, but we are regularly nonplussed by it. Is that the right word?
Yeah, it's
unimpressed.
Kinda, yeah, underwhelmed.
Yes. Or maybe just whelmed. So yeah, Patricia recommended a bunch of episodes to me. The one Doug's on stage spoke to me because I always wanted to be named Doug.
You know?
No, but for obvious reasons, but we'll get into it. But thank you, Patricia, for the episode recommendation. She also recommended many other episodes, so this was really just one that we took a gamble on. So again, still not the full picture of the show, but we're gonna take a little slice of it.
Absolutely. And as always, be sure to follow us on Twitter at FNN_podcast and Facebook, facebook.com/FNN podcast. Review us on Apple Podcasts so that others can find the show. And be sure to check out that YouTube page. Still got people joining us up on there, too.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Now let's get started.
From the Nicktoon Animation Studio in Hollywood. Hollywood.
Alright, like Casey said, this one's entitled Doug's on Stage from Season 2, Episode 11A. Originally aired November 22nd, 1992, so I'm not around yet.
Yeah, it's an old one. I am not around either. One of the first Nicktoon episodes ever, with 91 being our launching point. In this one, Bluffington students are cast in the school play, which shows the historic founding of the town. Doug's sister Judy, who is amazing, we'll get into her, is hired as the director, who decides to take on a more, let's say, modern approach to the story. However, parental complaints, which causes Mr. Bone to interfere, threatens this entire approach.
Yeah, so I will say, to start off, I think this is the best episode of Doug we've covered.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. It's still, I don't know, something about the format of the show, or maybe it's really just, and other people have said this too, it's just that Doug himself is so uninteresting, and he's kind of narrating it, and it's kind of like, right. I'm so not interested in him as a person. He just has nothing really going on that's insightful or different or intriguing to me. I don't know.
Well, they tried so hard, clearly, to make him an every kid, and they left him without a personality, in my opinion. Like, I'm control F'ing for Doug on our list, and we've done the episodes Doug Didn't Do It, Doug Out in Left Field, Doug's Cool Shoes, and now Doug's on Stage. And, like, Ashley, can you tell me anything about those other 3 episodes?
One of those is... Or did we not even actually end up doing diary one. We only watch it and then not record it.
Oh yeah, I don't think we did that one. I remember the baseball one the most, but even that was kind of forgettable.
Yeah, it's just
Patty Mayonnaise is awesome. There are good characters in the show.
There are good characters. There's also Roger, who's awful.
Yeah, Roger's terrible. He was up there on my least favorite was that New Year's that we did least favorite characters?
Yeah, I think so.
That
I think
was
so.
fun.
And God, he should have been on mine, but I don't know. And I think part of it, and you kind of talked about this too, is like Doug narrates, but he doesn't really add any new information. Like it'll be like they're looking at the sheet and they find out that Judy's the director, and then he's just like, I could not believe that my sister was hired as director. And, like, that's all he says. Like, okay, well, we know that happened, right? Like, it's not like he gives... Because I feel like Ginger kind of gave more insight into what she was feeling and, like,
Of
what...
course.
Like, we would get the situation, and then he'd be like... if he were, I don't know, if he just dug into it a little bit more, right? But he doesn't really get into the... Oh, Lord.
Well, like, okay, so if, like, our lives were a Doug show, we would finish recording this, and instantly you would hear me or you go, wow, I can't believe Ashley and I just recorded a podcast. And then it would go on. Like,
Yeah, like, instead of, like...
It really contributes nothing.
Like, something like, I don't know, like... I found it really frustrating that she got to be the director when she doesn't... I don't know, like, something, right? Like, something to give us some sort of an insight as to what he's feeling other than surprise, which is like kind of an emotion, but not really.
Yeah, he's like the kid in Henry Rowan Gardner in Rookie of the Year, if you've seen that movie. Where not. Like his only job in that movie is to act surprised by all of the crazy things that are happening to him.
Yeah,
that's like kind of who Doug is.
Yeah, and you know, it's not like, I don't know, like I said, it's not like everyone needs to have a brilliant take on everything that happens, but it's almost like, why are we even hearing his thoughts when they're just so bland? I will give another thing that I do like about the show is his daydreaming. They're daydreaming, great. I think, is fun, and that's really well done.
And the animation is a lot better for that. It's more colorful.
Yeah.
And so it is an interesting parallel where you have Doug's world, which is kind of bland, and his dream world, which is more exciting. So I almost wish the show was just, like, mostly set in the dream world.
Yeah, or at least more set in the dream world somehow, or I don't know, because we do get bits and pieces of it, and it shows that he's, you know, like, got this creativity to him, but it doesn't come out at all in anything else he does other than his fantasies, which, yeah. Getting into this specific episode, though, we get, you know, they're starting up the new play. We get, like, the classic, and like, even this, like, it just doesn't really matter, right? So, like, Roger is, what are they, a horse, and then Doug is the bottom half of the horse, and it's like, oh, man, this sucks, but, like, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, I don't even know if it's even, like, it's...
they barely touch on it later. It's a funny concept for sure. Like, stuck inside of a horse costume with the person you hate the most. Like, that's like the concept for Cat Dog.
Yeah, but instead it's just kind of like there's a scene where they're struggling and they, like, don't walk very well together. But that's about it. Like, it's not like there's any real conflict there. It's just kind of like, oh man, this sucks.
Right, and I thought that would be, like, the core thing of the episode, but it's totally not. It's all about Doug's sister Judy, who, as we all know, is an LGBT icon. No, but for real, she is, like, so stylish and cool and interesting. I don't think she's supposed to be. I think she's supposed to be, like, a pretentious, like, art nerd, and maybe that's just what I am, so I'm just like, wow, she's awesome. But I love Judy.
No, she's great. I think, you know, if I had to spend, like, every single second with her, I'd be like, all right, let's calm down. Like, we don't need to be this extra all the time. But, no, she's
like Olga, but not self-obsessed.
Yes. And I think, too, like, she did a good job of this. I was worried that she was going to be, like, so artsy and crazy and, like, so, I don't know, into it that she, like I thought the conflict was going to be something between her and the students. But she actually is like, all right, guys, let's make this our own thing. Let's really figure out what we want this Founders Day, whatever it is, to mean to us. And she really, like they all get really into it. They're all, like, proud of what they made, right? And she really does help them to get art, right? in their sense of things. Obviously, it's still just a school play and whatever. But I thought it was really great that she interacted well with them, you know?
And pretty cool that they put, like, rap in a kid's show in 1992 when it was pretty stigmatized as, like, not mainstream. It was this sort of, like, oh, that's not done by, you know, high society or whatever. So kind of props for them for being a little ahead of the curve there and kind of beating Hamilton to the idea of a rap musical.
Oh, yeah, they get it done. They throw it down, guys.
There's a kazoo solo. My caption said kazoo playing the blues in parentheses, which I just love it. Still crazy to me that he's Billy West, because whenever I hear Doug speak, I'm like, Doug just sounds more high-pitched than I remember him. And then I realize it's because the voice is just Fry from Futurama, but higher. Like, it's pretty much the same character, except Doug isn't stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's, I don't know, like, it's not like, I don't think it's I don't know, I guess, like, I don't really know where the problem is. I guess it's more of just, like, a writing problem of Doug's character. Because he voices him fine. It's just, like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, Billy West is, like, literally one of the greatest voice actors of all time, in my opinion. It's just,
and, like,
what does he have to work with in terms of the character? And I just found, like, not to really go in, because, like, this show is better than I'm making it out to be, but there was some just kind of disappointingly obvious exposition throughout the episode. Skeeter going, "That's your sister," to Doug, who obviously knows it's his sister, and Skeeter walks up to the cast list and he goes, "That's my name, Skeeter Valentine." Like, why couldn't they just show us that?
There's a lot of weird little bits and pieces, and I don't know, it just doesn't, you know, like, we get the whole conflict, and I like the concept here, of, like, the moral that they're going off of, kind of, right? Like, that, like, we don't need to be strictly traditional, because I do the show just traditionally, and it's super boring, and literally the entire audience is falling asleep, and then the second act, they go back and they do their weird 90s thing, and people are like, whoa, that was so cool, and, like, but I like the moral there, right? The idea of, like, traditions don't always need to be followed just for the sake of tradition, that, like, you know, there's reason to move forward and to change things up and to modernize in certain cases. So I like what it's getting at, but
yeah, and to the writer's credit here, I like the line, "What good is tradition if it doesn't mean anything?" I think that's a really good moral for the episode, and I don't know, it wasn't really holding me. Judy is great. Patty is great.
Quickly talk about Judy and her surprise costuming twice in this episode too.
Oh.
Yeah, first she
pretends
like Jean
to be like Parmesan in Arrested Development, if you remember that.
She's what is she? Just some old woman, and then she pretends to be like a writer in the audience, and she like pulls off the mask and is just like, "What did I tell you guys?" I don't even remember like if she was even getting at with that, but like
it was was really funny.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it was all over the place. The play itself is pretty... like we say this show is boring, but I think the play was anything but boring in its final product.
Yeah, I mean, it was something. It's, you know, like, I don't know, and a lot of times I feel like shows get so much done in these half episodes, and this one doesn't really get... I don't know, somehow, like, it doesn't get enough done, but I don't really want it to be any longer than it is, so I don't really know where to go with that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, plot-wise, not a whole lot happened. There's some outrage from some people. Judy gets kicked off the play. They do it anyways. Okay. I don't know. It's just... And you know, I guess, to be fair, Casey, and maybe this is part of why we don't really get it, I think part of it is that this might be the first show that was really doing this, and later shows did it so much better. So we kind of have the credit to see all of this, all of these new things that came after Doug, whereas Doug at its time was probably a little more quote-unquote revolutionary than we're giving it credit for.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it certainly doesn't feel like one of the first Nicktoons. There's something tone-wise that feels not like the other two between Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy, and we've talked to death about how you couldn't have 3 more different shows.
No kidding.
And I'm
Yeah,
looking. When you mentioned how it could be longer, I was like, didn't Doug have a movie? And it did. Doug's first movie in 1999. It was Disney, not Nickelodeon.
I feel like I remember. I think I went to Disney World around there sometime, and they had something up for it. I wasn't like a whole ride or anything, but I vaguely remember.
Yeah, it got totally panned, just obliterated critically. They said it was mediocre and did not have a cinematic feel to warrant the big screen treatment. Ouch.
I mean, that's kind of what I would expect, though, right? Like, Doug isn't really a show that's meant to be huge and cinematic. I mean,
Right.
you know, and we do. I think we talk it down again a little more than maybe it deserves, but it's not really a big cinematic show. Like, it's not. It's just this kid's life, right? Like, he's not really doing exciting, adventurous stuff ever. It's just kind of him going through, and honestly, like, so many things that could just so literally, like, just happen in a life, and, like, I don't know. It kind of, like, shows me, like, why we don't want literally everybody's everyday things documented in television all the time, right? Like, there's no drama to it. Like, it just feels like this is a thing that happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, Billy West left between when Doug went to Disney, and he said he couldn't watch the show. He said it was terrible.
Oof.
He also, I don't know why I didn't realize this till now. He was on Doug and Ren and Stimpy, so on, like, main characters in both, title characters in both, 2 of the original Nicktoons, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's wild.
He was also the original voice of Zim in the pilot. That's crazy.
I mean, I'm feeling a little better knowing that Doug himself agrees that Doug is not a very good show.
And to be fair, he was saying he couldn't watch the Disney version of it, which we haven't seen.
That's true.
Didn't comment on his own, but...
That's fair. But I mean, I don't know how much of a tonal shift there is. We don't watch enough Doug to know. And,
right.
you know, I'm going to go ahead and say we probably won't ever watch enough Doug to know. To anybody who, like, deeply, deeply loves Doug, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but
no hard feelings at all. You know, we can all agree that we love Hey Arnold and As Told by Ginger, I think.
Yeah, and again, like, I don't think, like if you like it, I'm not like, wow, you like a terrible show. It's just kind of bland for me. It just doesn't really do it. But and I'm sure too, again, maybe it has a bigger nostalgia feel for certain people that it just doesn't do for me either, because I didn't really watch a whole lot of Doug growing up.
Yeah, we're a little too young for it too, I think.
Yeah, so it just kind of is what it is. So I do want to say thank you, Patricia, for giving us a more exciting episode of Doug. I think there's, you know, getting to see more of Judy and her. I do think that the side characters have a lot more personality to them. And I did love her interactions a lot. So still appreciate the recommendation.
Yeah, thanks again for that and for reaching out. And yeah, ultimately, it's not preschool days.
Oh, God.
So it has that going for it. But yeah, that pretty much wraps my thoughts. Anything else?
No, I think this is good for me. I think we're good to move on to that conclusion.
All right, our Twitter poll for this week, the age-old question. We may have even asked this before. Is Doug the show boring? Yes or no? Black and white. We're not giving you a maybe. You can elaborate if you want in the comments, but you got to vote yes or no.
And if your answer is no, tell us why we're wrong, right? Like, just throw it in there. And what are we missing? Maybe what are we not giving enough credit? What are we, you know? Not that we're not trying to get into arguments about it, but
because we didn't love Rocco's, you know, like
That's
4
true.
episodes in.
So we might just not be, and maybe we're just not Doug people at the end of the day. It is what it is.
For sure.
Next week, though, we are getting back to Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I'm always thrilled to do again. We are on episode 12.
And check out our social media, as always, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
And with that, thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.